You're listening to Call That Girl's Office 365 show. I'm Lisa Hendrickson, your hostess. This is show number 64. Just a reminder, you can find all my shows and notes at callthatgirl.biz/office365. And there I'll have the show notes, the audio links, and the YouTube channel. Before we get going, I want to take a minute to thank our friends over at App River for help keeping the show afloat. I can't tell you how many referrals I've been given to them lately through all the tech channels I have, but referrals come from a happy client, and I am a happy client right now. I'm actually at the 3.5 year mark with them, and great solid support, great tech support sales guys. So if you're looking for a new Office 365 vendor, I highly recommend them. They also have encryption and website security and all the spam filtering and all that stuff. All right, gang, this week I got a special treat for you. We'll call him kind of my icon brother from the internet, who I found in a very interesting manner. I'll tell that story later. But I wanted everybody to meet Gareth Gudger. He is Super Tech Boy on the internet. And welcome, Gareth.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, Gareth, I love your little icon. It's like, for those that aren't watching, you should check it out. It's like a little Superman boy with some wings, right? It's super cute. And I love people that do stuff like that for their brand, Gareth, because it's kind of like you're not afraid to brand your business, you know? And I think
definitely.
In our world, it's really hard to get caught up in all the IT words and all that stuff. So I've got Call That Girl, your Super Tech Boy. It's awesome.
Yeah, I really liked your domain. It definitely stood out. And I think that was the whole point with Super Tech Boys. I just want to kind of stand out. I mean, there's so many, just very generic IT consulting type names. I mean, just, it's, IT Pro or, it's just, you almost can't tell one from the other. And then you go on their website and it's all the standard WordPress type, template. Yeah, but no, the other point with Super Tech Boys, I just wanted to have some fun. I mean, I'm a geek, so I like superheroes and stuff like that. And, it was just a fun way to create a brand. And, it was I'm like, well, this sounds kind of cool. So let's register that.
It is cool. And I got to tell you guys, check out his website, Super Tech Boy. It's with a TEK, by the way, right?
Yeah, got to be edgy.
Well, yeah. So super tech with just a kboy.com. What I love about your site, Gareth, is that it just is so clean. And it's not that floaty theme that I'm just really starting to despise that everybody's doing now with the big pictures and the floaty stuff. And your site, I actually was like, man, when I see a website that speaks to me, I was like, I kind of want your theme.
Yeah, so I my site, and I designed it for the reader experience. I mean, just based on my own personal experiences. I mean, going onto these sites and even some of these big popular tech type sites that are not an individual blog like us, but they're more of a they're actually there's actually a big company behind them, and you go on their sites and they're just overloaded and cluttered, and you're getting like 10 pop-ups on your face about signing up for something. And I just hated that experience. And the number of times I've gone to a site and it's given me it's dropped the pop-up immediately, and I'm just like, forget it, back. So I wanted to create a site that was just very clean and about the reader experience. And as bloggers, we're always trying to find ways to monetize our site as well. We're looking at things potentially like Google AdSense and other things and affiliates. And one of the big things that I wanted to do, if I did go, and I did go down that route, is I didn't want advertisements inside the content. I didn't want, these affiliate links inside the content. So, for me, my AdSense actually does really poorly just because I kind of put it off to the side and out of the way. And, there's definitely been times I'm like, well, why do I even bother kind of having that stuff still on the site, So, it's for me, the user experience was just keep it clean. And I use the Genesis framework for my WordPress blog. And actually, I think I'm just using the standard sample theme, and I just tweaked it a bunch. And, I liked it. Like you said, it was clean and made for some good reading.
Yeah, it is clean. And your ads on the side are just really clean, too. And I just looked at my widgets and I went, what a bunch of shit I have compared to yours. I mean, you do need to sometimes find a comparison site, which I recommend to people. Go find your competitors. And even though you're not a competitor, I'm like, man, I just love it. If I was to upgrade my site, which I'm probably going to do, I am going to copy yours a little bit in the terms of the look. So expect it, because it won't look like yours, but I just love it. And I kept finding myself drawing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I've done that. I've gone to other sites and I look at things that I think work really well and things that I don't think work well. And, I think that's just the way we got to do it.
Hmm.
I've gone to sites and I've gone to Paul's site, Paul Cunningham's site, who you had on a few
Oh,
episodes ago. And I really like some aspects he had about his site. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do something like that. I really like what he's done there. So,
yeah, his site is
yeah, definitely.
actually very, what I liked about his site, it's very, well, here's the difference, I think, between yours and his is yours has a more personal appeal to me, and his has a more professional appeal to me.
Yeah.
And that's not to
And he,
discredit your site,
and he also has and he also has pro in the names. That probably
Yeah.
helps. But
Well, I
yeah, I
think,
like his. He's got a really good front page. I like how he's got his main homepage laid out, and it's something that unfortunately I'm just doing a blog roll on my front page, but he's got it laid out really nice with articles and podcasts and all that, and his training and stuff like that. And yeah, he's got it laid out really nicely. So
yeah, I think, interestingly, I think Paula is a little more higher up than I knew before I interviewed him in terms of speaking. And his friends are Tony Redman, you know,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah, I kind of got lucky there. And I think Paul was like, when I asked him to come on the show, he was like, yeah. And then I really got to know him a little bit after. And he's going to be speaking here in Vegas at a convention this month. And I'm like, oh my God. And I started looking at I mean, you could really vet someone so far. And I missed out on that, how big he is thing. So, but you're in those friendship circles, which I want to talk about here after I talk about your business a little bit more. Because you're actually, outside of being a social media guy, you actually have a real business, right? That you help
Yeah.
clients.
So yeah. So there's actually two sides to me. So I also have a 9 to 5. I work for a company called Blue Chip Consulting Group they're based out of Cleveland, Ohio. And then Super Tech Boy, one of the things I did when I started the blog is I incorporated it into an LLC. And the reason I did that is well, if I'm giving advice, I probably need some kind of a liability protection there on a blog. So the blog became the ownership of Super Tech Boy LLC, and did all the standard, let's get the liability insurance and all that kind of good stuff. So if I'm giving, and that's the last thing, is I didn't want the site ever to hopefully, fingers crossed, the site never gets sued. So yeah, that was the plan, and then it's kind of grown into that. I wanted to kind of separate out any potential advertising earnings and affiliate earnings and that kind of stuff, and any kind of ebooks I might create. So I wanted to keep it very separate, and yeah, I've kind of maintained that. And Super Tech Boy, we do a little bit of consulting as well. So yeah, it's nice to have your that kind of, just, it's almost like your baby, and it's really kind of cool to have that experience.
It's your little 9 weekend thing, something for you. And then I also noticed in your signature, you use the word messaging, which I'm going to tell you, tip me off that you worked a 9 to 5 job, which is not bad, because nobody uses the word messaging that has their own business. But you know who does use messaging? Is corporate IT guys. There's a messaging team. And I used to work for the Mayo Clinic, and the team I used to have to go to, because I was like a 3rd level Outlook expert there, I had to work with the messaging team all the time. So that for those that aren't in that world, if you ever see that usually means corporate, and they do Exchange servers and all the other technologies that revolve around messages, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where I picked that up. I saw that, I probably, as a consultant working, like I said, with Blue Chip handles kind of the, 2,000 to 20,000 type seat ranges, and that's kind of where they're working at. So a lot of enterprise and a lot of projects actually a lot bigger than that. And I'm sure that's where I picked it up. I saw some of these title ones was like messaging consultant. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That just sounds awesome. So, yeah, I like that, and that stuck. So, yeah, whenever I'm sending out a Super Tech Boy, I'm not, the president or anything like that of the blog LLC. I just put messaging consultant. So.
Oh, that's cool though. And, like I said, you can never tell with somebody. I went on your site, and that's why I couldn't tell if you got hired by people or not, because there is, with what you're helping people with is awesome. And I know you get a lot of clicks every month. So you're still giving out valid content from your job.
Oh, yeah.
That's just, there's so many people out there helping right now, Gareth, that it's just wonderful.
Yeah. And one of the things that really helped me, because just doing the task. Pressing the buttons in your normal day to day is great, but I find that when you're actually trying to teach somebody through a blog post, it really also develops your own level of experience with that product. I mean, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I know how to set up DKIM in Office 365. But then when you're trying to explain it to somebody else through a blog post and you're trying to create diagrams and screenshots and how the steps on how to do it, you're getting even deeper. Sometimes you get deeper than you realize, you ever knew before. So it's really nice to, I guess, what is it they say? If you can teach a product, then you really know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like through the blog, if I can teach something, then it just, it's a great way to get an understanding. And sometimes I've written blog posts just like, I don't know this very well. I'm going to go write blog posts, and all the research I do, then I'm an expert in by the time I've published. So it's there's a little bit of selfishness there because I'm trying to learn, but at the same time, it's hopefully giving the readers what they want as well.
Yeah, well, at least you're not a YouTube artist. I know this guy that doesn't even work in IT at all, and he makes videos for IT stuff. And my concern is, since you don't work in it, how do you know to fix it if that is not the real fix? It scares me.
Yeah, there's definitely some bad information out there sometimes, and not just bad information, but sometimes it's like, does this information really apply to the situation I'm having? I think actually going back to Paul again, and I think it was Andrew had written some articles or a guide. I think they have a troubleshooting exchange guide out there, and then they had a couple of articles that would refer to a term as trouble blasting, which I thought was a really cool term. I'd never heard it before, but it's kind of like, just keep pressing buttons and making reg hacks until it fixes it and something sticks kind of mentality, right? And so many times you go into forums and you see this advice and you're just like, yeah, probably 9 times out of 10 that would work, but you read a little more into the question, like that's not really what they're having. And if they do that advice that they're given, they could actually be in a lot worse situation than they were before. So that trouble blasting is a very tricky area to you can get in the weeds very quickly that way.
I like that word trouble blasting, because it's kind of like a lot of my end users end up being trouble blasters.
Right.
They go on the internet and they will find some and they will send it to me and say, Lisa, look what I found. I go, but that's so not even what you're doing. If you would have done that, you blew away your this or that. And man, let me tell you that I do a lot of research on stuff for the clients, and I have to do it sometimes in real live time. And I don't like it because today, get this, just an example. So this client had 2016, of course, it sucked. They had a downgrader. And then she had 2 Microsoft Exchange servers on 2008 Exchange, okay? One piggybacked off the other. So one was like the mothership, the other one was like its own vessel, right? Well, she wanted to use the secondary one as her main, but she's got like hundreds of folders in the public folders. And so, of course, I set it all up. It starts to download. The public folders don't show up for the secondary mailbox. And I'm like, I don't know how this guy set this up. It's an Exchange 2008. It's on site. I don't know. I don't have access to it. And it would not. So that's when me and her were Googling together. And I honest to God was looking at stuff, and she's Googling, and I was under the pressure of Google, right? And I'm like, okay, look, let's just try something. Let's just start a new profile. Easy.
Yeah.
That worked.
Yeah.
Everything came down, and I was like, who would have known? It was a brand new Windows 10 computer, had never had a profile on it before. Who knows? I mean, that's the thing. It's what makes the most sense? I should have just done that in the first place. I know better.
Yeah.
I know better than to run through all these forums to find an answer that simple. I felt silly.
Yeah. It seems like it's a bit of a Murphy's Law sometimes. Sometimes it's you think, oh, this is going to be easy. I'm going to get this done in an hour. And before you know it, you've spent 8 hours and you're still, before you finally fix it. And then vice versa. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is going to be super tough. It's going to take forever. And then you're like, oh, wait, it took me 15 minutes and I'm done. So it seems like, sometimes it's just, a matter of going back to the basics and just running through and that's kind of what, the trouble blasting is all of, is against, don't do the trouble blasting, do the basic troubleshooting, go through all these steps and, make a change, see if it's anything's changed, make a change and see if it's fixed the problem, make another change, see if it's fixed the problem. Don't just, do 10 things, see what sticks, throw it against the wall, see what sticks, and then, oh, well, we think it's worked, but we don't know what we did to fix it. We don't know which one of these 20 items, right?
Oh, God.
Was this. and who knows what else we've done in the other 19 items. So
well, that kind of says what you said in what you said in your email was that it's very hard to keep up with all of this Office 365 and Exchange right now. There is more changes happening that text can keep up with.
Right.
And it's getting rough out there, man, because what I do is I only do Outlook Expert and Office 365 consulting. I don't really use the word expert because who the hell could be an expert these days? I mean,
yeah, I started, so I started in around 99. I think my first certification was at the NT40 MCSC. And, back then it wasn't too difficult to be kind of a generalist and be a master of most things, right? You had NT4 and, it wasn't that difficult, to be a master of it. You could kind of know Exchange at the time. SharePoint wasn't even out then. And, so you've got, and now we just have just all these massive amounts of different products, and every new version of Windows Server, there's 10 new features, right? So yeah, it's definitely hard to kind of be a generalist anymore, I think. I think you really have to become an expert into maybe, one or two or maybe even 3 different items, and then maybe just have a general understanding of everything else, or know who to call when you need to jump on something else. My focus areas are Exchange, and Exchange Online. I'm tempted to say Office 365, but I kind of stay out of the SharePoint stuff. I don't. I even before Office 365 was big, and we're looking at like MOS 2007 or SharePoint 2003 or earlier versions. It was like, man, that's just a whole discipline in of itself to learn. That's a whole another way of thinking, and I could have tried to learn some SharePoint. But yeah, it's difficult to do you want to be a jack of all trades, master of none kind of term that we hear a lot? So. Yeah, I was a generalist for many years, and I just wasn't advancing career-wise. So
no, and I think that's why I ended up specializing, because I was finding myself the master of none, but I always loved Outlook, and I kept finding that when I had all my staff and stuff, I kept saying, "Give me the Outlook calls," because I already knew them all, and it worked out for me. And then I ended up niching, and that's why I'll get back to this later, but I started inviting new people to the show because of what you just said. Like, I don't want to be an expert in SharePoint. I don't want to be an expert in OneDrive or Delve or Sway or Hammer and all the Yammer and all that other stuff. It's just too much. I don't even know what that is. And then if I don't know, how is a client supposed to understand it? It just doesn't make sense. When I'll look at Exchange alone, that's all I do all day, and I'm happy. It's all my work is. Yep. So I was going to ask you, what are your 2 expert things? So yours is Exchange and Online Exchange. So
that's pretty much what I said.
What do you do? I mean, what's your job doing it?
What's that, sorry?
What do you do at your job in terms of just doing those 2 things?
A lot of migrations, a lot of troubleshooting. And that really can take up a day very, very quickly. So
tell me about it.
I do a lot of running into a lot of Exchange 2010 to 2016 migrations right now, and running into a lot of, and not only just 10 to 16, a lot of people that had hybrid 10 and are now trying to go to, hybrid 16. Although oddly, just this last week, I thought I was finally over these, but oddly in the last week, I've had 2003 to 2010 migrations.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, it's that expected of life now for, I don't know, 4 years or something like that. So, yeah, still running into some of those, and and then just troubleshooting in general. Why can't I patch my Exchange, or my Exchange went down, or just that general kind of stuff that keeps.
So, can Tex hire you for help on the side if you need help?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Super Tech Boy. I have the I think it's supertechboy.com/hire. You can see some stuff there, and if someone needs some help on the side, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a good market, because I don't know if you know this, but I'm involved in a huge, like I would say, a community of just break fix technicians and MSP on the side, but they're all kind of all together in these circles I hang out with. And I know that the MSP guys are probably covered with this, but it's a lot of the break fix techs that they have been outreaching to me more for the exchange work. And I'm like, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't work with on-site prem. I don't work with any of that. I only do on the cloud now, and I'm really not knowledgeable. So I'll refer those to you. And if people are listening, you can use his link there. I think that'd be a great benefit because then it's, small business helping small business too.
Yeah, and as far as Super Tech Boy goes, I mean, what I'm generally seeing when I am getting requests through the website, it's the people with anything from 5 mailboxes to about 75 mailboxes, anything larger than that, and I'm generally referring them over to Blue Chip because they kind of need the that enterprise type project management and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I get a lot of calls, believe it or not, from the guys who have 50 to 75 mailboxes that they'll need my help one time to migrate to Office 365. So I told my tech Rob, I was like, well, let's build a nice pay-per migration project. But honestly, a lot of the techs, once they hear my prices, they're like, I'm going to go figure it out on my own. They're like, you know what, if you want to do that, that's fine. You'll get Microsoft support. But with us, it's just a little better because we have the experience. Now, we've been using Migration Wiz a lot more. Do you use that at Blue Chip or your own migration tools?
Yeah, definitely. We use Migration Wiz a lot. It's a great product. We run into the Dell. Well, it used to be the Quest tool, and now it's obviously the Dell tool. We run into that quite a bit. The email migrator, and then also Binary Tree. We run into a fair bit of Binary Tree as well. So sometimes it's not a one size fits all for the project. If it's just a simple email to on-prem, whether it be Lotus Notes or Exchange or something like that, to Office 365, and it's a fairly smaller Migration Wiz works great. But yeah, if you're getting into the bigger enterprise stuff, and you've got some AED domain migration piece in that as well, like it's some kind of a merger or maybe even a divestiture. Sometimes the Dell product works a little bit better. Obviously, it's a lot pricier, but sometimes you have those migrations that are a lot more complex than what Migration Wiz might be able to handle. Because Migration Wiz is great for email. I think they've got a lot of other products out there now as well for other things that they can do, but I'm not sure if they're in the AED domain type migration stuff.
I don't know. I'm trying to get someone from BitTitan to come on the show, though. One of my guys from AppRiver, I think, scooted over there, and I'm like, "Come on, be on my show, man." I love talking to people I know already. But what else was I going to ask?
Yeah, definitely got to get some vendors.
I know. Well, they are my sponsor, so the AppRiver anyway. It's nice. So what was I going to ask you about that BitTitan? Do you ever use Deployment Pro?
No, I haven't used that one. I don't believe. I'll have to check that one out.
Since it makes me nervous is that Deployment Pro product, because my end users, I got to tell you that they don't even read an email I send them. I mean, when I say, like, here's your pre-migration information, nobody reads it. So I'm worried if I send them an install link that they're not going to do it. And then the day of the migration, I'm like, hello, did you install it? And I just find that just sticking to what I know well, it works for me because I do well with my migrations. I just counted, just since I've been with AppRiver, I got 137 domains and over 600 mailboxes done. That ain't bad. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I had to count because somebody challenged me on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, really? Well, I'll tell you, I've done 137, and that ain't bad."
That's good.
Yeah, and before that, I did I don't know how many on the old vendor, probably 100 because those, I started doing Exchange migrations, I think, in 2011, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway. All right, so let's see. Look at my list here. I told you we wouldn't even need the list here, Gareth. and you guys can check out some of the other podcasts he's been on. It's on his site there. What were we gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're just having a conversation here. So
I know it's great. These are my favorite kind of podcasts, by the way. It's just fun, and I could tell by doing that. I checked out some of the podcasts you've done, and I was like, oh, I could tell this guy is a free talker, and that's awesome. Yep. Never know where it's gonna go. Well, let's talk about how I found you initially, because there's probably a lot more for you to say about that. So I went to a podcast meetup here in Vegas, and these two people that run it are kind of famous with podcasting. They have a great show, a couple million downloads. And they said, you need to get out and meet more people to be guests on your show. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to find anybody, who wants to talk to me, And before that, I was kind of only doing guests every blue moon. And then finally I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go out and find people. So I went out to Twitter. I felt I would have a better chance. And I started searching for SharePoint people. And oh my God, that's where I started. And there were so many SharePoint people, and I couldn't even follow what they're talking about. I think I reached out to the higher level SharePoint people, like the developers and stuff like that really don't do support. I don't know. But then I started looking at Exchange, and that's when I found Paul. And I was like, oh, let me go check out Paul's stuff. And then I started looking at Paul's, and I decided to invite him. And I was so surprised he said yes. And then one day out of the blue, I get this message from you saying you spelled it wrong in Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my God, someone's replying!" I literally don't get.
Yeah, I can't. I was trying to remember what that was. Was that the website?
Yeah, I forgot
the website URL.
I added us, and I was like, "Oh my God, I never get direct messages on Twitter." I always feel alone there.
Well, no, I mean that's all it's all about. I mean, and that's the MVP, Microsoft MVP program. It's very much about supporting one another, and that's why they're MVPs in the first place, is because the MVPs are supposed to be community leaders. They're supposed to be uplifting end users and uplifting other people in IT. I mean, that's the purpose of the program, is to be that community leader and to just be that positive voice for technology and make sure people are getting the most out of that technology. So that's why you see a lot of MVPs on forums and blogging and stuff like that, and on podcasts, because they're very passionate about their product and they want to make sure people get the most out of it.
Oh, I can tell. I've been watching a lot of the MVP stuff lately, and I got to tell you, Garrett, that I will probably never be accepted into that circle because I've already been banned from a Microsoft forum. By accident or by intentional, I don't know. And I'm kind of the underground, I guess. I'm a little bandit because I went into the Microsoft Tech forum one day, and it said, "Oh, you can create a signature." So I did.
Okay.
Which said, "I'll look expert, call that girl," which I didn't, do anything. I went into my first post that someone put out there, and I said, "Oh, well, you know what? That doesn't even sound like an Outlook issue to me. It sounds like you have a virus." And next thing I know, I go in, banned. I was like, oh my God, I got banned my first post.
Yeah, maybe it was just simple misunderstanding, and you just gotta, talk with the moderators and say, hey, was there, why was there a violation? Was it something in my signature? Was it something I said? And yeah, maybe you can get that turned around. But I mean, the MVP program, it's just all nomination based, so you can be nominated by anybody technically. Be nominated by a Microsoft employee, by another MVP, or just general public. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. You can go to mvp.microsoft.com and you can actually nominate yourself as well. So.
I did, and I haven't heard back, so I'm for sure guessing I'm banned. And you know what, though, Garrett?
They do it once a quarter. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, you can renominate yourself every quarter, and definitely it's. I've heard stories that there's a lot of times where you're not going to get potentially accepted on the first few tries. So.
Well, actually,
I don't know if that's true. That might be an old wives' tale, but that's what I've heard. So.
Well, I was talking to Paul about it either before or after the show I did with him, and he told me to apply. So I was like, screw it, I'll just apply myself. Well, I thought that might give me a little street cred with my clients because they sometimes say, "Are you certified?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not certified in anything." But I thought it might help because I think it looks impressive to a client, but to other techs, see you in your guys' world. I don't ever see MVPs in my world with my techs I hang out with that listen to my show. We don't use that term really. Because I don't think I don't know. I mean, but we're all very helpful like you guys are. Like we're like underground MVPs. We help each other on the groups and forums, and it's just not a badge of, credentials for us. But I've been seeing it a lot.
Yeah, and honestly,
go ahead.
Yeah, and that's how MVPs get started. I mean, they're in all the forums and spending their time on forums, just answering everybody's questions. I was on, I've done question answering on the TechNet forums. I've used Experts Exchange. If you've run into that one, I think I've, they have a point system, and I got a number of so-called medals for whatever those were, right, on their forum system. Yeah. It's, oh yeah, you're now a genius level. I'm like, okay, that's awesome, I guess. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the Yeah, you'll see a lot of MVPs on different forums. Spiceworks is another one you see a lot of MVPs that'll contribute time to. So it doesn't even have to be Microsoft. Outlets like that. It just you'll get noticed if you're on one of the top answers on Spiceworks. So yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of gave up on that kind of notoriety for me. I'm more better off working on my Google SEO tactics and getting more testimonials because, I don't know what you guys do, but I bill at $140 an hour and that's successful enough for me. I'm happy,
Yeah, it seems like Google SEO is a constant moving target.
I got to stay on that shit there, Gareth, because that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, I try and stay on it, because obviously I want to get views for the Super Tech Boy blog. And then I think I just said, you know what, I think I just drop on that Yoast SEO plugin and say, I hope this does its job. So.
Yeah, well, I could tell you that I have a whole ebook on it, and it's just a generic ebook, but it works. It's what I do. Like,
I saw that.
Yeah, what I do is I put out a lot of errors. That's me, my Microsoft MVP, my credentials, is I put out errors and I fix that stuff, or I give tips and really good advice. And because I have a high authority word with Outlook, ding, ding, I rank high. Yeah. I'm sure you could too with all your stuff, but you probably already know how to do that. But
it's a whole discipline in of itself. So it's you try and stay up on it. And like I said, I've got the Yoast plugin and other plugins to help me out with that. And hopefully I've configured those correctly enough to work. So.
I just had to figure it out myself because I think I was being so challenged by it. But, more importantly is that there's just to chime in, there's 3 or 4 different ways to really get good SEO. And one is to fix errors and put in the exact error. The other one is to do location-based if you're in a small town or a big town. That takes a lot more work if you're in a big town. And then the other one is just generic blogs like you do. You just put in all the stuff, you pump it out there, and people Google it and they find it. That's it. And you get likes and shares.
Yeah, that Google algorithm has definitely changed a lot over the years. It's certainly changed a lot since 10 years ago, where it was just a matter of keyword stuffing and dropping into meta tags. Now it's all based on bounce rates and all kinds of crazy metrics. So.
Oh yeah, I do my analytics about
I'm sure there's a lot they don't tell us.
No, but the thing is, there's a lot of tricks to it too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't know how many views a month you get, but I'm pretty open with sharing my stuff. I get about 10,000 views a month on my site.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but if you start drilling down the analytics, you can see all the errors that people are searching. So when I start wondering what the hell's going on, I go look at the good views and go, that one needs updating. So
yeah,
what happens is I had this big error that I kind of got lucky on. It was called Outlook cannot log on. Well, unfortunately, because Outlook 2016 is still in what I would call beta phase, even though it's launched, there's 20 different things that could be causing that error. So I had to go and update it every couple months with taking out what I know was fixed and what is still being a problem. And some jerk put in there my comments, which I did not approve, of course. He said, Outlook expert? Hardly. And I'm like, dude, you came looking for advice for free. Okay, and I put in there the update on this blog is downgrade or do this or call Microsoft. And I tell people honestly, call Microsoft if you have it. It's free. You paid for it. They will help you. They'll remote in, fix it. And you know what they do now? Gareth, they run all these scripts and all this other shit in the background. And then they go, boom, boom, it's fixed. I don't have those scripts.
Yeah, the comments are interesting. I've definitely had some of my fair share of comments, people that have said not so pleasant stuff. The hate comments are always fun. And it's interesting. We're very critical of ourselves. I'm a blogger. I'm very critical of myself. I'm obviously, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so when I see, you can get 100 good comments, right? 100. Yeah. Oh yeah, this worked for me. This is awesome. And then you get that one bad comment, and that's the one you end up, second guessing yourself and stewing on, right? And it's interesting. Most of the time I just leave the bad comments there. I never delete them. I remember seeing one bad comment and it was so well written. I'm like, oh, this is so well written. I can't believe it. He just wrote a beautiful comment. It was negative, but it was such a beautiful comment. And it really wasn't against me. He just had some gripe with Microsoft. And I'm like, but it was so well written. I'm like, yeah, I got to leave that there. And I've had other comments where people say, oh, you're an idiot. This is wrong. And then they replied later on like, oh, okay, my bad, you actually were right. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, because they have to come back to it sometimes, I get that.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of comments though. I could tell I get a lot of views and my bounce rate's acceptable for that, considering that's my moneymaker, my website. So I just flow with it. But I do track my operations pages, I've got a lot under the hood there. A lot of people don't know that, but let me see how many blogs I have right now. I could tell you this, that people don't know what I got going on there. I know I've got over 1,200 blogs. And some of them,
wow.
Oh goodness, yeah, Gareth. This site's been on WordPress since 2009.
Oh wow, yeah, I was kind of late to the game on the WordPress. I think I launched about 2013, and somebody else had a blog, and I saw what they were doing. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, and so I kind of jumped on that as well. I was a little late to the game on the blogging.
Oh, it's okay though, because it ain't your big money maker, and you're kind of what I would call the new social media guy. You're like, I come from 2007 when it's changed dramatically. I'm like an old lady with it now. It's hard for me to keep up, but so right now in my published, I got 1284, 1303 total, and my pages are real low. The pages don't go on Google usually for some reason.
Yeah,
that's only 166. So, but that's a lot of loving under there.
That's a lot of work and a lot of passion you put in there for sure.
Yeah, this week alone, I think I've pumped out 12 blogs since Sunday.
Oh wow!
But the thing is, I get in mode.
Yeah. Oh man, it's tough sometimes. It feels like I've gone a whole month without writing a blog post, and then maybe I'll hit another month, but I think I average about one a week, and it's but then a lot of times, a lot of the blogs that I find that I'm writing, I'm generally writing those how-to guides, right? So it's how to fix this, and it's usually exchange related. I've joked on Twitter a couple times, like, oh yeah, I'm going to write, this will be a quick blog post. And then I'll make a little, kind of almost a little satirical comment saying, yeah, this will be a quick blog post. 2,000 words later, a Visio diagram and 20 screenshots.
You got into it. Yeah. Well, that turns me into an ebook. Then I'm writing an ebook.
Yeah.
And then it's for sale.
Yeah, I did that. I did that once where I had like a 5-part series and I made it into like a Kindle ebook. And it's I just did it for the experience. I was like, this will be my first one. I'll try it out. It probably won't be very good. And I just sold it through Amazon, and it sold probably a few dozen copies or something like that. But I'm not sure. The ebook is interesting, and then even just the published traditional publications. I mean, it's I've had opportunities where they say, hey, come write this certification book, and or come write this ebook, and I'm like, yeah, it's just such a huge commitment. And I see these other guys like Paul and Tony, and they talk about just the massive commitment that they have, and to do this, and I'm like, it's tough. It's hard enough just to get a blog post out every week right now for me. So it is. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine just trying to put an ebook or a traditional published book out at this point.
Well, the thing is that I had learned in my early years that I worked on ebooks because there was an audience of people asking me for it. The technicians, I was over at this website, and they were like, boy, can you make it? Because I'd already had one ebook out, my first one, which I did not make for text. It was meant for general audience. And then they knew I wrote a book. So they're like, hey, write other books. So now 6 books later, I'm set. And now,
nice.
I got 6. And then I just put out an Outlook training video, which, Gareth, let me just tell you that that's almost more brutal than doing an ebook.
Okay. Making
a video is not just so easy. There's research, and then prepping and agenda. And then you got to, I'm going to tell you, it was almost 2 years in the making. The video itself took, the creation of it took 2 or 3 weeks. Then the editing, then I had to put the marketing page together, create a marketing campaign. There's a lot of crap that goes on behind that. And now I found, not even 3 weeks later, that my whole entire marketing campaign has to be shifted because the audience I thought would buy it is not. So I'm like, shit,
yeah. I did I did like an 11-part series for Experts Exchange a few years back, and it was just they just wanted 5-minute videos. They wanted to create these quick, short micro tutorials, as they called them, and it was just these quick, short videos. And I did 11 of them, 5 minutes a piece, or a little bit above, a little bit below sometimes. But with post editing and just having a lab ready to go to do all this stuff and then to demo all this stuff, because it was all demoed. It was all like, this is how you create a mailbox and this is how you do this. It felt like it took 2 hours for each 5-minute video.
I know it.
Just from all the production and post-production and stuff like that.
People don't realize that either. And so lately, maybe you can give me some feedback on this, is that the techs have been asking me for Outlook troubleshooting videos. I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I could even handle that project. I tried it once. I actually wrote up 16 training modules of all the different topics. But then when it came to the official teaching of it, oh my God, I was like, well, then I had to do the what ifs. I feel like I was writing a Visual Basic script. I was like, then what if? Then you got to do this. Then if that fails, you got to do that. And I was like, I can't be responsible for a tech messing that up. So I backburnered that project. And instead, I put up in the forefront a really good project that's called my Office 365 Sales and Marketing for my clients.
Okay.
Clients, here's what they love doing, Gareth. They want to call and say, hey, Lisa, we just got migrated to Office 365 and we don't know what the heck we're doing. And then they want to talk for a half hour so I can explain it to them for them not to hire me. So I decided to make this cute little video series, and it's parted out by each part of Office 365, and they're going to be 1 to 1.5 minutes long, really quick. It's kind of like the quick and dirty version of it. And when people call in, I'm going to say, why don't you go watch these videos, watch them all, or watch the piece you want, and then if you want to hire me, call back.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not going to lose any money by doing that. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and it's amazing probably how many other clients you're drawing in because of that. And they see that and they're like, oh, this is really good content. And maybe they just, they don't want to go through the videos. They say, okay, this is a cool video and I get what it's kind of doing, but you know what, I'll just hire her to do it anyway for me. I'm sure you're generating a lot of stuff like that. Yeah.
I have to, but now the techs want the sales kit that I'm making. Well, that's another sale, right? And you don't want to turn down money, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that till I test my own first, because I got lucky with the ebooks. I wrote them and they sold. Now I'm like, I'm a little more challenged with this. There's so much to Office 365, Gareth. It changes. The control panel alone drives me nuts.
Yeah, and we've talked about a lot about Paul and Tony. I don't know if you've seen that they've got their ebook out there for Office 365. Mm-hmm. So they have their book called Office 365 for IT Professionals. It's about an 800-page book. They're already on their third edition, and they're updated. Now it's an ebook, and they've also got it on Kindle, but they're doing weekly updates to that book, and that must be a massive endeavor to keep that up to date.
Yeah, if they're doing weekly updates, think how many they're selling. I mean, if they're doing weekly updates, come on, they're making a load, and that's awesome because my best-selling remote support book had 3 editions. Why? Because it was continuing to sell and I had to update it, and so I bet those guys are doing really well. And if, do they even have a podcast?
Yeah, Tony has his podcast out there. He does a podcast with, he does a podcast with somebody else. Sorry, Paul Robichaux. That's who he does his podcast with. Okay. I think it's called like Office 365 Exposed or something like that. And then Paul actually has his own podcast that you can see on his site. He gets a lot of different guest speakers on. So he's got a really good podcast that generally covers, Exchange and Office 365 as well. And then the other one that I was a guest on recently was the UC Architects, which is Exchange, Skype, Office 365. And that's mostly run by Steve Goodman and Pat Richards. So those are all the big podcasts. If you got, your techs and listeners looking at, if they want, what other podcasts can I look at and get into? I'd say the UC Architects, Paul Cunningham, and then Tony Redmond's podcasts are the other ones.
I'll try to put the links in the show notes too. And you know what else is funny? Then on my notes here, I said, oh, we got to talk about this now. You were recognized as one of the top 25 Exchange experts by Code 2.
Yeah, it was awfully nice. So, I didn't expect that. And that was before I was awarded the MVP as well. So maybe Code 2 had something to do with that. Thanks very much, Code 2, but I'm not sure. But yeah, it was great because that list, I was just, I was truly honored to be a part of that list. Because I only became an MVP just this July. So to be a part of the list was just a great honor. I look up to Tony Redmond. I look up to Paul Cunningham. They inspire and they teach me all the time. I go through all of Paul's courses because there's always something to learn from Paul. Tony always has great editorial content. These guys that were on, to be a part of that same list as them was great. Because like I said, these guys inspire me. I've always learned from them. So it was it was a great honor to be in that list.
That's funny you say guys, because there was like no chicks on that list at all.
No, actually, I take it back. There is one lady on that.
Was there? Who was that lady?
Pumla Schmidt. She's I think she's a V expert, and she goes by Exchange Goddess on the
okay.
Twitter.
I think I saw you do a podcast with. What's that?
Yeah, you got to get her on the show. She's great.
I think I saw her through my looking around at all your stuff. I checked out your guys's. I think they have a YouTube one, right? A YouTube show.
Yeah, they do and I was on that one. They do a Google Hangout. It's Pumla Schmidt and it's Teresa Miller run that show.
Gotcha.
And they're both. I think Teresa's like a V expert and a Citrix person, and does Exchange as well. And then Pumla's mostly Exchange and VMware, I believe. So I could be wrong, but.
Well, that's the thing is I don't work in that world, I never got into being an Exchange server admin. I've always been play with the pretty buttons admin, make the accounts, troubleshoot light stuff on there, play with things. But digging in and diving into Outlook is not everybody's favorite thing, I've learned, Gareth. So that's why I come in.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be good to find your niche and be the number one there. So I started. I mean, I wasn't always an email. I mean, my first version was Exchange 5.0 that I saw. Probably pressed 2 buttons in it. 5.5 was probably the real first version that I was pressing buttons in. But I mean, when I began in kind of like the 98, 99 timeframe, I mean, I started out as just a break fix desktop guy. I worked for, I actually didn't go to college, so I straight from 18, and now I'm aging myself, so you can do the math. I worked for a little local computer repair store, and I basically went in and said, hey, I'll work for free. Just teach me everything about repairing computers. So it was kind of like an apprenticeship in a lot of ways, and did that for quite a few months, and then started moving into like desktop support type roles from there. So I got my start.
That's how a lot of, I think, techs do it, though. The crew I hang out with is a lot of the break fix techs, and they're in that position of wanting to grow or whatever. And we get a lot of them that are like, I just want to start. How do I do it? And we're like, work for free.
Yeah. And that's how I did it. Obviously I was like 18 at the time, so not a lot of, no mortgage to worry about. So it's a little harder. I think if you're more kind of mid-career at this point, or maybe you're starting out, I think the best way to do it is get a lab. I mean, it's the best way to do it. And I didn't do that for a number of years, and I wish I did. But, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a laptop that just happens to have some extra RAM and maybe you've got a solid state drive in there, and you could just put Hyper-V on there real quick that comes with Windows 10 and throw a couple machines on there. Or maybe you go on eBay and buy an old server for like $200. I mean, you can get an HP DL380 G5 for about $100 if you look long enough. So it's, it's get a lab and just start building Exchange or start building Skype or SharePoint or whatever your interest is, and just do it. I mean, you got to make that little bit of an investment on buying that lab hardware and just get into it and just set it up, break it, fix it, set it up, break it, fix, just rinse and repeat. So it's the best way.
That's what I'm doing.
And now I keep the lab around because I'm like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what this PowerShell command does. Let me go try this in my lab. Okay, that's what it does. And then, you can, adopt that then to your client's environment. So that's why lab even works great for me now.
Well, are you talking about like build your own lab, like computer lab, right? Make sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, here's what I did.
Not doing some mad scientist. I'm not Walter White doing.
No, I was like, do I have the right terminology here? So one thing I learned is that I've been working with Macs for I don't know, 20 years, but on and off, and I'm not an expert by any means.
Okay.
But I've always done email support across all platforms, right? And I was kind of like going, man, should I get a Mac just for the Outlook 2016? Because it can be kind of scary, And I've remote in. Sometimes I don't even know a client has a Mac until I hit the button and I find out. So I found a gal in one of my Facebook groups that she offered it to me, $150, solid state hard drives, 60 gigs. It's going to be tiny, but I don't plan on using it. It's going to be my test machine. I'm kind of excited because my clients actually trust me with a lot of their data. Like they let me set up their Exchange on my computer, And I'm like, sweet. Then
Yeah, it doesn't need to be fast. Just needs to show you what it should look like.
I just want to see the new buttons, man. I just want to see. Well, the thing is, I already know it, but I get the weirdest shitty problems, Gareth. It's all weird stuff. Yeah. And like the job I'm doing tomorrow, a big IT company did a migration, and of course the CEO's mailbox is not working. And because they migrated it wrong, it's like mail's missing, and I'm like, well, if they're calling me, you know, I got to go figure it out now. I got to be the hero. But I'm like, it'd be nice.
Yeah, makes the job fun. That's what we're looking for, right? Is finding that, finding the problem and solving it.
Yeah, I do a lot of work for MSP companies on the side. I either get most of the calls from their clients when the MSP guys say, you know what, we're out of answers. Go find an expert. Then they have the client go look. Or I'm like, I wish you guys would come find me and pass it over easier, but I don't think they want to be responsible for the bill. So I make the clients all pay. And that works for me. All right, Gareth, let's go see what else I got on my list here. So let me just double check. So your tech blog, you don't have your own podcast though, right? You guest a lot?
No, I'm no podcast at right now. Just, inviting myself to your podcast.
Invite yourself. And you know what? That's the thing about you guys on Twitter is you're going to laugh, but through one of the things on your blog, I found a connection to a president of a really big company, and I invited him on my LinkedIn, and he accepted. And I asked him to be on my podcast show, and he declined. He's like, "We are too busy right now." But I was like, "You can reach these big guys. They pay attention on social media, and if you have the balls to go invite them to LinkedIn and say, "Hey, do you want to be on my show?" They might say yes. I mean, you never know. And so that's why I was like, I didn't want to say the name of the company, but I'm gonna reach out again in a few months. Might as well. But you do okay. So you don't have a podcast. Do you sell the ebooks?
No, like I said, I did that one just to kind of and that was a couple of years ago. Now it was just to try it out. So, I had that experience. It was kind of cool. Just trying to get blog posts converted into Kindle stuff and having that experience of publishing through Kindle. So, I might do that again. If I can get another, 5 or 7 part type series where I'm migrating maybe from 10 to 16 or something like that, I might put that in another ebook. I definitely had that request. I've had a lot of people said, I used your 0 to 10 ebook and now I want to jump to 16. Do you have one yet? I'm like, not yet.
I tell you, man, it takes a lot of work to write those ebooks. And a lot of people don't understand when they're like, wow, you want $15 for this? I'm like, yes. In fact, I'd love 100 for that because it was grueling. And people forget that you got to market stuff. And there's just so many pieces to writing an ebook, especially in our world. Because in the reason why I gave up on making another video series is because Office 365 was changing so much, it'd be outdated.
Yeah.
And then what? I have a bunk product.
And years ago, I used to get invited to write like certification books, and I've known others that have written certification books, and they talk about the royalties they're going to get from the book, but then you look and the shelf life of their book is so minimal. It's those royalties just may not have amounted to a whole lot.
I know.
So.
And it is a lot of work. And I finally just threw my books up on Amazon because someone said, why not? I was like, I guess, if I sell a book, I get $13, they get $7. I'm like, who cares? But I don't know. I don't know if ebooks is the wave of the future. I honestly think quick learning videos is, even though I made my videos and they're not selling as well as I thought, I'm not giving up on it because I like watching videos on how to do stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that may work well, and my YouTube channel is so neglected. I think I haven't had a video on there in a year. But what I do think is if you have a blog post with the written word, these are the written instructions, and you also have a video on there as well that says, okay, if you prefer to watch the video, here it is, and you embed it from YouTube. I think those work pretty well.
I've got a bunch of those. Yeah, I learned that what I did is I took some of my hot top blogs and I made a video for them, and I actually talked them out instead of showed people how to do stuff because it actually made more sense. I said, here's the best version is I'm going to tell you what's wrong. You can go fix it or hire me. Now, Gareth, since I started doing that in probably the last month and a half, I probably get at least one or two calls a week from people that say, I saw your video.
Oh, nice.
So it's a transition of my marketing to be more alive, a real personality instead of content based. But you got to remember, YouTube and Google are like married. So you do one, it helps the other. And I just, I think my YouTube's at 109,000 views now. So it's doing well.
Yeah. And those YouTube videos certainly can rank in the search engine results. So it's, people see that pretty thumbnail, right, of that YouTube video. And I think, they'll skip over 5 links to click on it. So
yeah, because it's attractive. And that's why I love that. One of my videos went quote viral, not viral like in the millions, but like for enough for me. But if you catch on to something that's really hot right now, your best bet is to go pump it out there in a blog first and then do the YouTube video the best you can, even if you just free talk it. You don't have to set up a how-to. People don't care. I think I have one of my videos has like 8,000 views. It's just me talking. I'm like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Gareth. Well, do you get anything else you want to share with us today? Any fun stories or anything else? A pitch? Anything?
No, I'm not much of a pitch guy, but I guess the only pitch should be follow me at Super Tech Boy on Twitter and come check out my blog at supertechboy.com.
Yeah, his crew on Twitter is kind of fun. I've been trying to follow it. I did invite you to my Facebook, and I'm going to invite you to my Facebook group I have that's called, you're going to laugh, I got the URL, Microsoft Office 365.
Oh, nice.
And what's the best part is Facebook just switched over to Office 365, and I'm like, you think they're going to take my URL from me?
Yeah, and I just found you on LinkedIn, so I don't know if you got my connect request or maybe it's already processed through, but yeah.
I don't know. I'll go dig it up. Let me go see it here. Yeah, I try to add. I mean, the thing is, there's so many social medias. I just got it here. There's so many, but the point is which one do people talk on the most? Your guys all talk on Twitter. My guys are all on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, social media is definitely a tough one. You've really got to go where your audience is. I actually get a lot of clicks from LinkedIn as well. I find out that LinkedIn works really well as well, and not just the news feed, because that news feed generally gets just obliterated with recruiters and all kinds of stuff. But the LinkedIn groups I found actually work really well.
Really,
and actually for me even better than posting in Facebook groups. So. Check the LinkedIn groups for, maybe there's one for, I'm not sure if there's one for Outlook, but there's certainly probably about a half a dozen for Exchange and Office 365.
Well, I'm in a pretty big one that Tony Redmond's in, and he pumps out a lot of data on it. It's called hold on. I think it's called Microsoft Office 365. It's just got 85,000 members.
Yep.
Yeah, and in fact, what's funny is I got a college buddy that works at Microsoft. He's in there. Paul's in there. I could see all the people I'm connected to are in there. But I mean, I was going to say, if you're going to party with that crew, you got to be at the party, because I think they pay attention to you. If I've learned this from LinkedIn groups, is that you get more, reputation the more you participate.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like anything. If you're on Twitter, you got to tweet all the time and connect and tag and all that other crap, and you got to be active, So you got to learn.
Yeah, and it's easy to get that social burnout, right? I think it's important maybe just to focus on 2 or 3 social networks. If that, some people might consider that too much as well. There's certainly a lot of good SEO type, or not SEO, sorry, but a lot of social sharing type, experts out there that'll say, just focus on 1 or 2 networks and don't spread yourself thin by, trying to be on every single network, because there's just hundreds out there. I think at this point, it seems like every other day there's a new one you've never even heard of before that pops up. So
yeah, I just I've had my time with LinkedIn. Facebook I almost got rid of as of the end of last year, till I found this new group that kind of pulled me into a new spirit of it. And now it's all these techs helping techs, and then I started my own group. So now my group has 180 people in it, which is decent. All working Office 365 techs.
Yeah, and Tony Redmond and Jason Sherry have a couple of good Exchange groups on there as well on Facebook.
So. Oh, do they? Well, I better get hooked up on that.
Yeah, and then there's a good Office 365 one out there as well too.
Oh, I did have one last question for you. So Paula's coming to this convention here in Las Vegas to speak. It's a big IT dev thing, way outside my scope. Yeah. I mean, plus it's $2,000. So even if I went, I would be like, la, 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 I don't even know what's going on. But I am going to go to MSP World here in Vegas in October, because they actually touch upon some cool topics about Office 365 and some other things that I generally have interest in. Plus, if you're going to start meeting other connections, I got to go and meet face-to-face. And then you get a little free meal and a happy hour, and they got some other junk and then or stuff. And then the tables. So I'm looking at this as a really good, thing for me to start doing. Do you ever go to conventions or conferences?
Yeah, actually, I'm registered for IT Dev Connections. So and I haven't been to that one before. So I'll be in Vegas in October, I think, when that is. So, I haven't been to that one before, so it'll be my first time at IT Dev Connections.
Well, we got to hook up with me and Paul then.
Yeah, because I think, Paul speaks up there. Tony speaks up there. I think, actually, Tony runs the Exchange Office 365 tracks. I think he's on the chair or something for that particular set of sessions. So, Tony will be there. And quite a few other Exchange Office 365 MVPs. So maybe take a second look. I mean, being in Vegas, you don't have to worry about getting there or probably the hotel or anything like that. So
no, but it's still $2,000. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, the other ones. Do you know the dates of that one in Vegas? I don't have the link here handy. I think it's the one I'm going to is on the 10th and 11th.
Yeah.
Is that when you're here?
It might be the same week. I feel like it's.
God, now I think it might be.
Yeah, because I feel like it might be like the 10th or the 15th.
You know what? It is. I just remember I'm at the Cosmopolitan. You guys are at the area, I think.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're going to be 2 blocks away during that whole time frame. What nice. I can do is.
Just gotta crash the parties.
I'm gonna just crash yours. I'll come over after it's all done, so I can just meet you guys at a happy hour. That's what I'll just do. Makes it a lot easier, because I'm like, man. I even looked though at the agenda, and I'm like, I just don't know any of this stuff. It was way outside my, interest. So, well, cool. Well, Gareth, there we go. Now we're gonna be friends in person.
Yes, yeah, definitely. We'll have to crash each other's parties at the. So I've got to crash the MSP party, and you got to crash the Dev Connections party.
Yeah, well, I'll get your cell phone. We can text. We can have a text off.
Yeah, we'll get what's that app? Is it Foursquare or Swarm or something like that, where it tells you how close you are to all your friends?
Oh no, that's Tinder. Swipe left, swipe left.
Just another social network, right, to keep track of. So
that's cute. All right, Gareth, I'm going to close the show here. It was a pleasure talking to you. If you feel like you got something else you want to talk about, feel free to reach out, and we'll line up another show here.
Yeah, definitely. We need to do it again.
Oh, yeah. I've been trying to bring more lively people on. This summer's been good for me, because summer is slow in podcasting world. So I've been just knocking it out with all these guests. Do you know Robert Crane?
I don't, but I feel like I might have watched did you do a podcast with him?
Yeah, and he's also part of the, he knows Paul Cunningham also. And Robert. Okay,
yeah, I was watching a few of those. He's a SharePoint MVP or something.
Yeah, he's quite a fella too. Quite an interesting fella. And I got as a contact from Carl Palachuk.
Okay.
So the circle's tightening.
Yeah, I had found you. I think we'd already mentioned it, but I found you because I think Paul might have retweeted, and so I had started following you on Twitter. So
yeah, I appreciate that. He did send me a thing saying I put this out on my social networks. I was like, oh, thanks, Paul. I don't, expect anybody to do anything, but it's always nice when they do.
Yeah, we definitely got to support each other. So
we do, and it's fun, and I love this stuff. It's good stuff. All right, well, let me find my show notes here. I tell you, I'm still trying to get this crap in order. Hold on. I hate people thinking I'm messed up here, but I had an issue with my... All right. Okay, thanks, Gareth. Thanks, Mitch. This has been a Heyman Hendrickson production, audio supported by Mitch Heyman. Thank you to our sponsor, AppRiver, and Podbean for hosting. Remember, if you have a story you want to share or want to be a guest on the show, contact me, Lisa Hendrickson, Lisa at callthatgirl.biz. That's it. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.